And you have to have these three relationships that need to be going all the time. So here we are. This is my chavruta of people equal to me. We're learning together, and we're keeping our foot in the door with the Ramchal. So even though I'm not teaching this Mesilat Yesharim on a steady time and place, but we do have a certain order that every time I stop teaching, I go back to where we left off. I hope that it's okay with you. And it's important about the Mesilat Yesharim is to always be learning this book. As we wrote in the beginning of the introduction, the Ramchal writes that this book is not a book of knowledge. It's a workbook. It's a book you need to repeat yourself over and over again. The purpose of the book is not intellectual stimulation, is not learning new things, but it's how to live the things you already know, and to basically, the book deals with 4 different aspects in the Jewish life. One is Yirat Hashem. Yirat Hashem means admiration. Reshit Chochma Yirat Hashem. Everything starts with Yirat Hashem. You see how great Hashem is. Hashem is involved with the whole entire world, giving to the world, taking care of the world. And I want to learn to get out of myself. As we mentioned, we're all in prison. This book is based on the Braita of Rav Pinchas ben Yair, the rabbi, the Tana, who used to go and release prisoners. We're all in prisoners. We're in the prison of our selfishness. And the Rav Kook writes, a person has to work very hard to be able to acknowledge that there's another existence besides himself. A person is so much locked into his own world, and all there is me and how I see things and what I want and what I need. And to be more godly is be able to acknowledge there's somebody out of yourself. There's somebody another human being. And the Ramchal wrote us this masterpiece that needs to be learned over and over and over again, how to deal with the 4 aspects of, number 1, we said, Yira, admiration of God. 2, how do we correct or develop or fine-tune our character? God put us in the world, and we have one most important mission in our life. It's called Tikkun Midot. If we did not develop ourselves, then why were we even put in this world, says the Gaon of Vilna. The whole purpose of us existing in this world is that we can look back and say, I have developed myself, I've worked on myself. There are people who could be 100 years old in the age, but like a baby in their character, in their personality, in their midot. And this is the purpose. A person needs to grow. A person needs to change. A person can't just say to himself, this is who I am, accept me as I am. My children are at the days of dating. And for my like red line, I tell my kids, all you need is 2 things when you're dating. All you need to know 2 things about the person. Everything else is not relevant. Tall, high, black, white, convert, Jewish, Jewish from birth. Everything else is meaningless. There's only 2 things that you're looking for in a person: midot tovot and yirat shamayim. Midot tovot and yirat shamayim. Midot tovot. And I say, well, how do you know midot tovot? So I say, ask a simple question. If you're having problems in your relationship, would you go to therapy? Would you go to get help? And many people say, no way, man, nobody knows anything. I'm perfect the way I am. Unfortunately, more men than women. Women like going to therapy. They like working on things. They like men more. There are women, obviously, that don't like it. But majority of the problems are the men won't go to get help and get therapy because what am I weak? And what am I, have a problem? And I can figure everything out on my own. And this is an important thing to know, that obviously a person needs to understand that you're in this world for one purpose: to develop to grow and to advance yourself morally and spiritually. And everything you go through in your life is to bring you to a certain moral and spiritual place. But you have to be in that acknowledgement, that understanding that that's my purpose. And it's the same way when Esav was born. Esav comes from the word Rashi says, Esav is the words asui, which means made, perfect, complete. Esav is of the philosophy. There's nothing you need to change. You are perfect the way you are. He was born also with coloring and hair. He looked like a grown person. He looked like a full human person. And that's his philosophy. Like an animal. Nobody expects an animal to have to change or grow or develop.
Try to be nice to this channel. This is only his first thing.
Nobody expects an animal to have to grow or develop or expand. And that's what the Maharal says, that the word for behema is ba-ma. The essence, everything that it is in it from when it's born. An animal comes out, and within a few minutes it's going to do everything it's going to do for the rest of its life. It's going to eat, it's going to drink, it's going to enjoy the sun. But a human being, the Maharal says,
No, it's not Maharal.
A human being is called chokhmah. A human being is called chokhmah, which is koach ma. The word koach ma, a person has to bring out of himself his abilities through asking questions, through questioning, koach ma, which is why, what am I doing here? What's the purpose of life? What's the purpose of creation? Who am I? What am I all about? So this book, like I said, the Mesilat Yesharim is the second most sold book in the Jewish library after the Bible. So obviously that's a pretty intense statement. That from all of the books, number 2 after the Bible in the Jewish library is the Mesilat Yesharim. It's every yeshiva, whether it's Hasidic to Mitnagdim, across the board, everybody is studying this book. What is so exciting about this book? It deals with 4 aspects. Like we said, the first one is Yirat Shamayim. The second one we just started speaking about is Tikkun Midot. So the first one is how do I come to have admiration of God? Number 1. Number 2, how do I work on my character? So we said, there's a philosophy that says I'm perfect the way I am. Esav, he comes out born looking like a full human being. Looking like he has hair and he has coloring. And everyone says, wow, he's Asui, he's Esav, he's made. He's perfect, he's whole. Accept yourself the way you are. Not only that, to try to change is going against God, because God created you perfect. And don't change that. And we say, no. We say, we come from Yaakov. Yaakov, right? If you look here, Yaakov, what's the root of Yaakov? Why did he get this name Yaakov? He got the name Yaakov because he was holding on to the heel of Esav. The heel is the lowest place in your body, but it's also the furthest place away from your head. And Yaakov, through struggle, he got a new name. What's his new name? What's the words Yisrael stand for? Yisrael stands for Li Rosh. There are people that live their life with their feet, by their heels. What does it mean to live your life by your heels? How do you say foot in Hebrew?
Very good.
How do you say habits in Hebrew? Hergel, haregel. To live, many of us live our life by our feet just take us where they want to go. Our feet, our habits. We live our life on cruise control. We act like machines. The number 1 enemy of human beings is habits. Habits is what we call mechanical action. You're putting on tefillin like this. You're a machine. You're not thinking about it. You're not making a choice. You're not understanding what you're doing. You're not. That's the opposite of, you're not a human being now. When you're acting out of habit, then you are not a human being. And that's why Israel is Li Rosh. Yaakov, through struggling with angels, with spiritual forces, with internal battles of personal development, has come to a state of lirosh, of I think, I plan, I make a choice. And when we say enemy of mankind is habits, we're not talking about bad habits. We're talking about good habits. Praying today because you prayed yesterday is bad. It's a big mistake. Come to shul 5 minutes before. I have the big honor of I live next to the chief rabbi of the army, and he comes to shul 20 minutes before, and he says every word. And you can't daven in the way they daven in shul, and they fly through. I mean, and we daven slow. It's like an hour, 50 minutes, shachris. 20 minutes before, or come just prepare a few minutes before. Sit down, make a choice. What am I doing now? Or you're going to make a bracha. Don't just jug it down. What am I doing now? I'm now making a bracha. I want to make the bracha. I'm thinking about what I'm saying. So that is the philosophy, and that's just a tip of the iceberg. I'm not going into depth of what is this whole world of Tikkun Amidot. The Mesilat Yesharim deals with four aspects. The book deals with 1, 2, 3, 4 things. 1, we said, is yirah, what we call admiration. 2 is Tikkun Midot, what we mentioned till now. 3 is ahava. How do I become in love with God? In love with God. It's a big question. And 4 is kavanah. How do I have the right intentions? How do I really do it, serve God with my full heart, be fully present, have the right intentions? These are very deep things. And each thing leads to the next. If you really learn about Yirah, you see how you admire God, you see He's so great, and then you realize where you're at. And you say, He's so great, God is the king of the world, He cares about the world, He's Zanet Olam Kolo Tovo, He's caring and loving everybody and everything. And where am I? I'm so locked into my own world, where we say, En od milvadi, where there's nobody else but me. How do I get out of that? Once you start thinking in that direction, you start working on your character. Love is always an outcome of a process of effort. Love is not something that happens or doesn't happen and you're just helpless about it. When you learn about something, when you develop, when you grow, suddenly the love is something that comes out. And then, kavanah, the intentions. So that's what this book talks about. But the Ramchal is the master of systematic, organized program. Everything is very organized. In other words, there's certain foundations you need to have in order to start doing the work. You can't jump in to working on your character. How do I get over laziness? How do I get over all this where I'm stuck and I'm like living in habits? And how do I get rid of? Before we talk about any of the practical steps, there is first something you must internalize. We can't go anywhere. We can't start doing any work until we internalize this concept. And what's that concept? So we have a certain foundation. And as soon as we look at the world in a different perspective, in a different proportion, what is that? Olam haba. Unless you understand Olam haba, what does that mean, Olam haba? What? The world to come. The world to come could mean the world to come. It's coming. It could be, it's a code word for the soul. Like you're a body and you're a soul. The soul of the next world is this world. In other words, the idea of Olam Haba is that there's something that I cannot grasp with my physical senses, but it's more real and more valuable than anything else I could understand or grasp. But it doesn't mean I have to learn about it. What is Olam Haba? Olam Haba is not a place, it's a state of mind. Olam Haba is a new perspective. Olam haba, we say that the rabbis, when they would bless each other, when they would say goodbye, the blessing they would say to each other was, Olamcha tireh bechayecha. I bless you to see your world, your next world, in this world. See it now. Live it now. Which means it's possible to live in the state of the next world in this world. So Ramchal says, unless you understand Olam Haba, we can't do any of the personal development, personal growth, all these things, loving God, developing ourselves, kavanah, all these things. First, you must understand this concept of Olam Haba. What is Olam Haba? First of all, Olam Haba was not mentioned anywhere in the Torah or in the Nevi'im. The first time we hear the word Olam Haba is the rabbis in the Mishnah, after the temple is destroyed, suddenly we hear Olam Haba. Why wasn't Olam Haba mentioned any time before 2,000 years ago? The answer is, it's like if someone comes to you and says, let's go to a class of why you shouldn't commit suicide. So you'd say, I have other classes I need to go to. But why? You want to kill yourself? No. So why aren't you coming to the class of why you shouldn't kill yourself? Because I have a desire to live. I love life. It's not a question that I have whether I should kill myself or not. The same answer is about Olam Haba. Olam Haba was something that was obvious. It was something that did not need to be mentioned or discussed or taught about. It was obvious to everybody that there is Olam Haba and that there's no questions. It's like the same way I know I live, like the story of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. They brought him into prison with the Balatanya, and a soldier put a gun to his head. And the rabbi's smiling, and he starts saying, Shema Yisrael. And the soldier says, you're not afraid I'm going to kill you? And he says to him, let me explain to you something. You have lots of gods and one world. I have many worlds and one God. These toys, they don't mean any, they're meaningless to me. So the guy says, you believe in life after death? He says, no, I believe in life after life. It's just going to a new level of existence, a higher level of existence. So Olam Haba was obvious to everybody, and no one had to talk about it until the philosopher Epicurus. I don't know if you've heard the word Epicurus before. It comes from a Greek philosopher, Epicur. He came and said, all there is this world, all there is materialism, and that's all there is, and nothing else, and you have to enjoy the pleasures of this world, and that's it. Now people got confused, people didn't understand, and suddenly there's many teachings. Kol Yisrael shlem cherek olam haba. If you do this, kol ha'olech al bamot Yisrael shel cherek olam haba. If you walk in Israel 4 steps, if you do this, you get olam haba. If you do this, you get olam haba. What is olam haba? Suddenly the whole, from the time of the Mishnah, you have on and on concepts of olam haba. And they start explaining it and learning about it, and that's been something. So Ramchal starts off, this is what you need to learn first, olam haba. And he wrote this book, and in the first chapter, there's 5 different angles of explaining olam haba. Some people need to learn it in an intellectual way. Some people need to learn it in different ways of explaining the Ramchal, as we see in the book later on. To everybody, he talks in a different way. Everyone, he doesn't believe in educating everyone. Everyone the same thing, the same direction. Everyone has a different way of understanding something. One person, this hits a chord. Another person, wow, that was amazing. The person sitting next to him says, what was amazing? That's just obvious. We're all different. We never know where it will penetrate. It will hit into us the understanding of the connection of God. So the first thing the Ramchal tells us is that, where do we learn about Olam Haba? First thing he tells us that the purpose of living is for Olam Haba. And what does that mean? Adam nivra litaneg al Hashem. You're in this world for one purpose: to have the pleasure of the closeness to God. That's why you're in this world. And there's no greater pleasure than this, than any other pleasure you could dream of or imagine in the world. Is only this pleasure. So again, and what about physical pleasures? So the Western world says you're here to have physical pleasures. That's the goal. Work all year and then go to the Bahamas and go have your vacation, get drunk and party and have a good time, or whatever it is. You're in this world just for the pleasures, and everything else is surrounded around just those physical pleasures. But the problem is that they're so far and few between. How much pleasure do you have? And when you have pleasure, it doesn't work. And that's why the largest growing disease in North America is depression. Because when you say the goal is pleasure, you say this world's a amusement park, but I'm not having fun. Most of the time at the amusement park, I'm standing in line, waiting for my turn to go down that slide. And some people pay the fast line, so they get go a little faster. But it goes for 2 minutes. And 2 minutes, that's it. I have to go wait in line for the next one. I'm having fun. Give me my money back. It's all about what's your goal. We say something else. We say, and this is where the Mishnah, we're starting the first angle, the first explanation of Olam Haba. We're going to talk to your soul. The first proof that I'm going to bring you about Olam Haba is I'm going to talk to your soul. How do you know there's Olam Haba? My rabbis told me. What? That's good enough for me. Some people, that's good enough. Right? We say, Baruch Atah Hashem, Elokeinu, Velokei Avoteinu. Blessed are you, God, our God, and the God of our fathers. Why is it our God and God of our fathers? There's two types of people. There's people that found God themselves. There's an advantage and a disadvantage to that. They found it themselves, so it's exciting. It's a personal connection. I found it myself. What's the disadvantage? You found yourself, so yourself you can also be proven that it's not true, and yourself you can lose it. It's something that I found, and now I didn't find. I was convinced otherwise. I was convinced that yes, now I'm not. But then there's a person that has Elokei Avoteinu. It's the God of my fathers. Why are you doing these stupid things? Putting on tefillin and all these weird things. Shuckling all day. What do you mean? My father did it. I do it. Yeah, but look, I'll show you proof. Listen, I don't care about your proofs. My father did it. I do it. What's the problem? He didn't find it himself. It's not as personal. What?
You need a mixture of both.
You need mixture. You need Elokeinu, my God, that I found myself, and the God of my fathers that I was given down to my fathers, and it's something that I do because it was handed down. You need both. So we said, so the rabbis come and tell us very simply, and this is the first proof, Ha'olam. Now wait, in the Western world, just to finish the thought, so they say you're in this world to have pleasure, and they're depressed all day long because it's not working, so far and few between. What do we say? Pleasure is a need. Pleasure is a means for a goal. What's the goal? Litaneg and Hashem, to serve God, to have this closeness to God. And where is the ultimate peak and the ultimate expression and, how do you say, the destination for that closeness is the next world. So now, and where do we learn that from? The rabbis taught us that Olam hazeh domeh leprozdo b'fnei Olam haba. Our rabbis told us in the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, the fourth Mishnah, the 14th Mishnah says, Olam hazeh, this world, domeh leprozdo b'fnei Olam haba. Okay? Hatken atzmecha b'prozdo, do the work here. In order that you will be able to get into the hall. What do we learn from this? First of all, the important thing to know is they're both under one rooftop. Olam hazeh, olam haba, your body, your soul, are not two separate entities. They're under one rooftop. This world is the hallway. The hallway is dark. And you have a whole job to do during this hallway. If you do the job right, you'll make it into the hall. And the words of Reb Tzvi Yehuda, the hallway is dark, but the hall is full of billions of lights. Moshe, we're going to talk about Kuzari, where his face was beaming in this world. His face was so beaming, he had to cover his face. There was so much light. How, if now it's dark, the hallway. The whole purpose of the first chapter of Mesilat Yesharim is open the door between this world and the next world. Expand your perspective. Hashkafam is like the word from mishkafim. Put on new lenses, new glasses, or do like a laser surgery, and suddenly see the reality in a different proportion. I know personally, this happened to me. I remember when 25 years ago there was the first Intifada, and there was bombs going off everywhere. I was living in Achlaot. There was buses going off. There was bombs went off next to my neighborhood, and the shuk all over the place. I was devastated. I met this rabbi, Rav Shlomo Aviner, and he comes and he says, let's put things in perspective, let's put things in proportion. All these bombs, all these terrorist issues, it's just psychological warfare. It has no ability to conquer a country. It has no strength. It has no ability. It's nothing. There's more car accidents than there are terrorist attacks. There's more people dying from cigarette smoking, 10,000 a year from smoking cigarettes. There's more people dying from eating unhealthy, way more. Think about how many were killed in the Holocaust in one day. I think it was like 25,000 a day, an average on 6 years. Right? There were some days that there were like 200,000 killed, some days, but average 25,000 a day. And suddenly, whoa, your whole world is like, look at things in a different perspective. Here we are, free nation in our land, and suddenly my whole world changed. When you take a step back and you see the big picture. A person is running down the street, walking down the street, just hanging out. What they call in Hebrew, sorefet hazman. I'm burning time. Right? I have an appointment in 20 minutes, so I have to burn some time. So I'm walking around. Person's walking. Somebody steps on his toe. He was so bored. Somebody stepped on his toe. He starts screaming, yelling, how dare you, blah, blah, blah. Now he has something to do. We have an event. There's something going on. I can scream, I can yell. But imagine a person is running to go. He found out he won the lottery. And he's running to go and cash in his card. And he's running, and somebody steps on his toe. Wow, that really hurts. Have a great day. Right? I'm going something. I'm on the way to something. I'm busy. I have a focus. I have a direction. I'm going to the goal, to the purpose of Litaneg al Hashem, to have this pleasure of closeness to God. So we said, pleasure, we're not against pleasure in the Jewish world. Pleasure is not the goal. It's the means. You have to sleep well, eat well. All these things are wonderful. Sleep 8 hours, eat 3 meals a day, do exercise. All these things are wonderful. Enjoy life. But remember the purpose, the goal. So this is what we learned from the first rabbi told us this. And that's what they said. Hayom la'asotam. There's like a split here. Hayom la'asotam. Okay. La'asotam. Machar lekabel scharam. So this basically, we're suddenly told a revolutionary, game-changing revelation. This is the world of asiya, of work. If your goal is, how can I work more? How can I serve God more? How can I do mitzvot more? How can I help people? If that's your goal, you're the happiest person that ever lived, because you'll have so many opportunities. You give me a hand here. Can you help me do this? Can you do this? Oh yeah, I'm looking for it, so I find it. But if you say to yourself, this is the world of pleasure, and someone says, come help me do this, come help me do that. Are you crazy? How dare you ask me? I'm like, what do you mean? This is I'm having pleasure. I'm right now at the peak of the goal of what I'm supposed to be doing, having pleasure, and you're disturbing that. So it's all about what is your goal, what's your purpose in life, what do you set your goal. So this is the world of work. This is the world of darkness. להגיד בבוקר באמונתך בלילות. In this world you need amuna, you have faith. Sometimes it's dark. But if you like baboker, but if you know that I'm gonna baboker chasdecha, there is gonna be a state where I'm gonna see the light. I'm gonna open up the light and live now in a state of this understanding. Then you're already living in your olam haba. You're already living in that reality. We see it today with these widows, these people who they lost family members, and people that have this very deep understanding of olam haba. They have such an incredible strength and ability to withstand challenges that you can't believe. Because they understand that, this world is dark. I don't know why God does things. I don't know what the meaning is behind it. I don't know why things happen. Like I asked my rabbi, my son was in Gaza, and I said, Rabbi, give me some strength. And he said, everybody has a time that they need to go. And when they go, some people go in a simple way. Some people, everyone's going to die. I know we like to, the Rav Kook says also, all of the effort and toil that a person does in life is to forget that there's such a thing as dying. We all don't want to believe it doesn't exist. And then we're shocked when we hear somebody die. What? But we're all going to die. So some people die by, a car accident. Some people die from old age. Depending who you are. And the zchut, a person that gets to die for Kiddush Hashem is the highest level. And not just Kiddush Hashem. There's a person that walking the street and someone killed him because he was Jewish. That's a high level. But a person who goes knowing into battle and says, I am going because I believe in the Jewish people and that God is bringing us back to the land of Israel and with a mission. And I'm going, and even if I get killed, what an honor that I'm doing it for my people. Wow. This is like, Hashem shouldn't test us, but there are people who live this way and understand this. And I've met them and you hear them speaking. And nobody knows till they're tested. But we know that this is the dark world and this is the world for work. The next world is all light and it's the world where you get the reward. And even though it's dark, we have to remind ourselves three things. Always tell ourselves three things. 1, God loves me. 2, everything is guided by God. 3, something good will come out from whatever this difficulty is. I can't see the big picture. But if I tell myself these three things constantly, then I will be the happiest person that ever lived. If you look at the book of Tehillim, over and over and over again, there's this one word that repeats itself over and over again. Ashrei. What does the word Ashrei mean? Ashrei means Meushar. That King David had the most challenges of anybody you could believe. Physical challenges, every challenge, people wanted to kill him, his kids wanted to kill him, and he had armies and wars, internal, external, every possible problem you have. But if you read all of Tehillim, it's all Ashrei. Like the Gemara says, I don't understand. Mizmor leDavid bevarcho b'fnei Avshalom. A song to King David as he's running from his son Avshalom that wants to kill him. The Gemara says, Mizmor leDavid. Kina leDavid. You should say a sad song, right? Like a depressing song. My son is running after me to kill me, and you're singing like a song I'm chasing, I'm running away from my son who's trying to kill me. What are you talking about? Ashrei means meushar, joy, happiness. How is he happy? Because meushar means approved. I know that I am doing the will of God. I know that I'm doing the right thing. I know that my program is approved. I have a program. I have a plan in life. I have a system. I want to bring to the fact that the temple should be rebuilt, that the Jewish people should come home, that the Hashem's light should be shine, right? Mal'aretz da'at Hashem. Hashem's light should shine in the world. Everyone should know about Hashem, and I'm doing this. I'm part of that program. Whether I continue it or not, or other people continue, I'm part of that. And he's living with this joy and this happiness. Every other day there's a new book, how to find happiness, enjoying your life. Obviously the books are not working. But our books work. Learn Tehillim. I know a lot of people read Tehillim. Learn Tehillim. Learn Tehillim. Look what it says here. And that's the next proof. How do I know there's Olam Haba? Because King David told me as well. What did King David say? King David said, Ve'ani kirvat Elohim li tov. For me, from all of the difficulties, from everything I can go through in life, from all of my questions on seeing like what's going on, if you look at this, learn at the Tehillim 73, and he says at the end, the conclusion is, Vani kirvat Elohim tov, I want only closeness to God. And he says another thing, in Tehillim 27, Achat sha'alti me'et Hashem, if God would come to me and say, okay, you have one request. Everyone likes to think they have three, but there's only one. What do you do if there's only one? Achat sha'alti me'et Hashem. You know how to say the fairies is part of like of witchcraft and all this other stuff. But let's say the fairy comes to you and says, what's the one thing you want? Not two things, not money and health and a wife and kids, and you only can ask for one. What's the thing you're going to ask for? King David says, if I was asked, Achat sha'alti me'et Hashem, if I was given this proposal, Shlomo, what's the one thing you want? You have to know.
Be with Hashem.
Shivti beveit Hashem kol yemei chayai. King David says, and you got to know this, because you have to know what's the one thing I want. What's the one thing I want in life? Everything else will follow, or not. Everything else can be taken away from you. You could lose your health. You could lose your children. You could lose your money. You could lose your wife. You could lose everything. There's one thing, if you get it and you have it, you cannot lose it. And what's that? Even if you die. Shivti beveit Hashem kol yemei chayai. Where is Hashem's house? Shivti beveit Hashem kol yemei chayai. Where is that home of Hashem? What does that mean? Shivti beveit Hashem. King David says, I'm asking one thing. I want to sit in the... Where is that house of Hashem? House of Hashem, it says about Moshe Rabbeinu, Bechol beiti ne'emanu. In all of my home, he is faithful. Which means, everywhere is the house of Hashem. This world, by living an existence of your goal, your purpose is as closest to Hashem, and you're asking for that, that's called being connected to your soul. That is called Shivti beveit Hashem. Now it's very important. Why does the Ramchal give us this whole chapter before we jump into how to practically take the steps of working our midot? Why do we have this whole chapter? And the answer is, if you want to lift up the world, you need to be, if you're in the mud, you can't lift up anything. You first have to lift yourself out of the mud. In Hebrew, chomer, chomriyut, materialism, you're stuck in the mud. You can't lift up anything. So before you go to try to lift up yourself and become a better person, first understand Olam Haba. First take yourself out of the mud, and then you're detached, you're separated, you understand about Olam Haba. Become, Rav Tzvi used to say, Olam Habayim, become more next world oriented. Obviously our goal and our purpose is to lift up this world. We're not trying to just detach ourselves and become these esoteric spiritual beings. We want to lift up this world. But before you can lift up this world, then you have to lift yourself up into a new concept, Olam Haba. And that's what King David says. And he says, and that comes from work. So we have to end. It's 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yes? Thank you guys. So Bli Neder, next class, I hope that the rabbi will put me in here and there, because I want to keep a foot in the door in Mesilat Yesharim. We have Kuzari at 3 o'clock. Whoever wants to join. 2 o'clock. 2 till 3. Thank you. And then next week, if we try, we'll go to the next. Then it's the next explanation on Olam Haba. The first one was talking to your soul. Our rabbis told us. I believe it. I believe them. If this is what King David is saying, then obviously I want that also.